Hey, good morning, everybody. It's David Wildston at the New Jersey Globe. We have a special Election Day edition of Stomping Grounds with Alex Wilkes and Dan Bryan. Thanks for jumping on. Just a couple minutes. I want to see what you shared your thoughts yesterday. See if you've changed your mind and what are you hearing, Alex? What are you hearing from your Republican friends across the state?
From my Republican friends, people are excited to vote for Jack Ciattarelli. Generally, of course, the Swadia people have a lot of enthusiasm, but Jack just has spent so much time building a campaign, financing a campaign, going around the state to county organizations, which matter in terms of turning out these 4 out of 4s, these 3 out of 4s still in a lot of places. So, I think that the sense is that people, even despite the monsoon that we're having here in New Jersey, they'll still make it out to the polls. Our people like to vote on election day. They like to vote on the machines. And, thankfully they're starting to do that earlier, but people, I think, still will come out on election day for Jack.
Dan, what are you getting? I know you've been working the phones all morning. So.
Yesterday as well. Yeah, I mean, one thing I checked right before we came on here was the final number of votes that have come in before Election Day started. 344,000 Democrats have voted before Election Day started. That is an astronomical number. About 150,000 in person of early voting, which is, I think, probably the highest uptake we've had in an election like this, especially a statewide election. So I think we're really seeing uptake there. So it's great to see that even if this is a high turnout election, we're not going to see lines on election day. We're not going to have people disenfranchised. Listen, there's a few camps that are feeling pretty confident. There are a few camps that I think see the writing on the wall that know they're not going to win today, but they kind of still want to see what the results are. But, David, you and I talked about this yesterday. I think there's a lot of really fascinating elections throughout the state. I mean, I'm in a town where we've got a competitive assembly race primary, a competitive township committee primary, a competitive gubernatorial primary, which we all have. It really is going to be a pretty fascinating night tonight. I am very much looking to see where as 8 o'clock hits, what those VBM numbers look like when they come in. Are they falling along the polling lines, or is someone outperforming? Looking geographically, what's coming in? I think we all have a sense of what tonight is supposed to look like. That doesn't mean it's going to look like that. So, is anything going against the conventional wisdom, or does this look like it's going to be Mikey Sherrill's night?
Without asking you, Dan, who's going to win? What time is your guess that this race is over, one way or the other?
Listen, I'm out of the predictions business. That includes the timing. I would say, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if this went a day or two. I also wouldn't be surprised if the second the VBM hits, we say this one's over. I would not be shocked if we, listen, it's two different things. You calling it, David, or the AP calling it is one thing. It's going to have a higher threshold, or a candidate being able to comfortably say, yep, we've got this one in the bag. I think the latter can come as early as 8:30 once we see the VBMs come in. If those VBMs look strong one way or another, or weak one way or another for certain candidates, I think we're all going to see the writing on the walls. If everything looks tight, everything looks close, the county machines are coming in slowly, I wouldn't surprise not only for this to be a late night, it could go a few days. So listen, there's really no way of knowing. That's why I said I'm really interested to see what those VBMs fall along. Do they fall along the polling lines, or are they bucking conventional wisdom?
Alex, what do you think? Your party, you think it's an earlier night?
I do think it's an earlier night. I mean, we'll have to see what comes out of Ocean. If that is, extremely tight, that might affect the race in some way. But I don't see the other counties really bucking the president on this. The president's made it clear that Jack is his choice. He reposted his support of Jack ahead of the election. I think that means that his team is committed to seeing this through all the way to November. And they've definitely, put the full force of the White House behind this. So I think we'll have an early night, but I'm sure there's still some jitters over at Camp Jack. There always are.
Yeah, no matter where you start the day, you get increasingly nervous. When the reality sets in of we we don't know, for sure what the voters are going to feel. Alex, one race real quickly before we wrap up that I am watching very closely, and Dan is watching very closely, is the Republican primary for state assembly in the 38th district. Do you want to, can you talk real briefly about that race and the quality of the candidates?
So I'm really glad you didn't ask me about my home district of 39. But I will say, look, Barry Wilkes, small business owner, your friendly deli guy in town, and Rob Kaiser, a 30-year veteran of the police force in South Hackensack. Two strong candidates that, even though there's a primary, they've put out, at least 6 pieces of mail. We've seen, an effort go towards that, just to look to boost the name recognition of these guys, even though I think that the primary, will I think that they're the strongest candidates in the race, but even still, I think that the effort that they made to get into mailboxes and text messaging and that kind of stuff will ultimately, secure the victory.
So real quick, Dan, you go first. In primaries for political parties, good things or bad things?
They're good things. And listen, I'm gonna repeat myself a little bit from the beginning of this call. I mean, the fact that it is pouring today. I mean, when I first started in politics, we would have days. It was an urban center, and urban politics, always kind of weather dependent, right? Because people were walking to the polls rather than driving. It could swing elections. The weather on election day could swing elections. How lucky are we now that 344,000 people have voted? Well over half have voted before election day. And then we're not sitting here saying, well, it's raining, it's going to hurt this person, it's going to help this person. That is maybe the dumbest way to pick pick our candidates. The fact that people have so many options to vote before election day, I will say, yes, it's a good thing. Obviously, primary is a good thing. Competitive primaries are a good thing. What we got today is what was promised when we eliminated the line, which is competitive primaries throughout the state. That is a good thing. And thank God that we're not looking out the window saying, who does the rain help? Who does it hurt? Because so many people have already made their voices heard. And the other people that are going to the polls later today, they don't have to wait in line on the reins because there aren't going to be lines.
Alex, real quick, primaries, good or bad?
David, we've been having competitive primaries on the Republican side since 2015. So, or really, 2010, even going back to the Tea Party days. So I feel bad for Dan and my Democratic friends who are having to experience this level of competition and angst for the very first time, that there's no Goldman Sachs candidate to come in and just sweep everything up in conjunction with the county line. So, we've been knifing each other for as long as I have been working in politics. And so that's all I know. And look, I do think it's a good thing, because ultimately the process did produce the best candidates for us in most cases. And I think that you can see that from just going to Joe Biden last year, or this group of candidates. I mean, this was a party that's not used to fighting each other. And like, they're going to have to start.
Well, Alex Wilkes, Dan, Bryan, Stomping Grounds, growing like gangbusters when it comes to getting an audience in New Jersey. I'm so grateful to both of you for answering my questions. Even when you dismiss them as silly questions, it's still a great answer. So thanks both of you for so much for doing this, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for the opportunity, David. Great seeing you.
Thanks.